we rotate our refeeds. We have refeeds pretty much weekly for most of our athletes, right? And those are like little sneak previews in regards to like how we fill up and flatten out, and obviously it changes a little bit as you continue. But those are our practice runs, and they bring a lot of utility to other things. The training, less situations like the one that Brad just mentioned, where you're like flat, watery, beat up. Like that kind of minimizes that, so that as a coach you could get better looks. But with our refeeds and cycling our carbs, it's like we get all these little previews, and throughout about the last half of the prep, right, guys, we're typically looking at what we see, and basing off that information, we decide how we go about peaking this athlete, right?
Pretty much. Like I even like maybe a month away from a show. Like,
Yeah.
okay, let me get more video around these refeeds.
Yes.
So I know it's kind of a pain in the ass to do it, but it's such a valuable tool, because if you were to take video first thing in the morning, flat, prior to the refeed, about an hour, 2 hours after all that food is in for the day, do it again. Another video, let's see what you're looking like. Try to get, roughly the same lighting conditions. You can see what the differences is from morning to night on that day. If you have it's a 2-day refeed, you repeat the process again, and then you do it on the third day. And maybe that's a low day. You do it again. You can see visually what the differences are, where that best look is around those refeeds. So like you said, Berto, it's kind of like a preview, test runs. So that way, you can, in a sense, have a very like educated guess as far as how things are going to go during peak week. But during peak week, because we're like, oh shit, shows in 5 days, the stress level is amplified. So how do you keep this person from losing their shit, raising cortisol levels because of the stress? So a lot of that's mental. So I still say my best ever peak as far as like staying as cool as the other side of the pillow was a pro international. Like the day before, I just remember like I was just in like Zen mode. Like nothing could faze me. Nothing was bothering me. I was just so calm
That's
and
so
collected.
key. Yeah.
The night before the show, I was watching NFL Network, just chilling out. And man, even the day of the show, I was just so cool and calm. I've never been so cool for a show. So I need to revisit that, what I did. But yeah, I think those visuals, the frequency definitely heightens around a peak week. And leading into the show, the week of the show, then now we're looking at pictures like daily or video daily to see what kind of changes we're looking at, because you can see the flatness and fullness, because now we're looking at a physique that is very minimal body fat. So things are going to be very noticeable. You might see changes happening within an hour.
Yeah.
Or even shorter time than that. I remember I had one athlete at the NGA California. And I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. I feel bad now. But anyways, this guy will look flat in the morning. And I think Brad was at the show, so he'll probably remember once I say it. And I said, dude, we're flat. I want you to eat half a pizza. Or it might even be a little small personal pizza. But literally, within 30 to 45 minutes, it was like a changed man. Like he just blew up. So like the carbs, it was probably more the sodium than it was the carbs, because a little more acute, got the blood pressure going, and then you throw a good pump on top of that, and yeah, it just transformed them. So it's pretty wild how the physique can change from flat.
It's probably
to
the
full.
pizza too, because low pizza make you forget about all your problems. Especially
You feel good, yeah, because he was happy. Right? Pizza, really?
For 50 minutes, he's like,
yeah. I remember that. He was a good-looking kid too. I cannot remember his name, but you're right, Jeff. I remember that, because even I had a client there too, and you can see blood pressure. I swear you can see blood pressure when you're in actual competition shape, and that's when I really kind of start almost to like insisting, I don't want video at this point. I want to see pictures like almost every 4 to 5 hours, like hourly. It's Thursday. The show is Saturday. I want to see what you look like this morning when you first got up. I want to see you 2 hours after your first meal. I want to see you at night, and that's when I want to see my pictures, and I can just either on my phone, or like I said, those clients that are super anal and they put the photo collage together, and I can see here was morning, here was 4 hours later, here was 8 hours later. That's when I really want my photos, because unless I've got a way to compare my videos side by side. You know, it's really hard for me to assess those subtle changes. And yeah, like sometimes they'll say, okay, here's what we're going to do. I want you to down like you said, Jeff, something salty, just something salty. I want you to get like 12 ounces of water, and I want you to send me pictures in about 2 hours. And they're like, Coach, I got this like kind of miniature little headache. I'm like, your blood pressure went up. Yes. And then we can see it. Look at how much fuller you look, because you get that intramuscular pressure in there on top of the carbs and all those substrates that are now actually in the muscle, you know, and not kind of floating around in between. It's like, okay, now we kind of know what we're going to do come tomorrow or come the day after tomorrow, kind of, you know, whatever.
I just want to say,
I've learned from you guys on how to spot those changes, because I used to suck at that.
I
and
just
you guys are still the masters.
I need to follow up with this. Like, if you're hearing this about the pizza, don't do that unless you know what you're doing or your coach says have pizza. But because remember, this is an athlete that I worked with for many, many weeks leading up into a show. So it was definitely in the plan.
Man.
Well, and that's why, like I said, your guys' eyes, you know, are so good. I've learned so much about those looks, and still do, from you guys. You know, I'll never forget when Berto said, you know what, you can spot that fullness kind of in the thinner muscle bellies, you know, kind of in the abs and in the hamstrings, you know, and things like that. You can really spot that fullness versus flatness. So yeah, you need to have a good eye when you know you need to have pizza, you know, or your coach needs to have a good eye when they say that you need to have pizza.
Well, like for me, when I look at my physique, when I like assess mine, like the body part I don't look at is my hamstrings, because that's my most dominant body part. So it's always going to look good, even if I am looking flat, it's still going to be prominent. So I look at more like my back, which tends to be the body part tends to look the flattest when I am flat, or even my chest. I'll look at those two things more so than like the strong body part. So I think if you're kind of unaware of how to assess what's flat and what's full, well, don't look at the body part that's always going to stand out. You always see the guy, oh shoot, I'm going to look at my biceps in the mirror, you know, because they always look good. It's like, no, look at the body part that looks, you know, the worst. Even if you are full, it's not going to be as prominent as some of those other ones.